It's always a big week in mobile technology, the news cycle that never sleeps, but this week's been bigger than most, with Android and Windows Phone vying for attention as each camp spouts rumors galore. Those rumors, plus a lot of hard actual news, have flooded the feeds for the past 6 days, and we've called in a four-man team to talk it over on today's episode of the Pocketnow Weekly, the once-a-week audio podcast where we discuss smartphones, tablets, and the state of mobile technology in 2013. I'm your host, Michael Fisher, editorial director at Pocketnow. Welcome. And joining me for the fun, listed in order of proximity to me, are Chief News Editor Stephen Shank. Ahoy hoy to you.
What it is, jive brother.
Senior Editor Taylor Martin. Top of the moonshine to you.
Howdy.
And Multimedia Manager Jaime Rivera down in Honduras. Buenas tardes, sir.
Buenas tardes, caballeros.
Ooh, I didn't say it right at all. I shouldn't have Jaime on the show because he makes me sound bad.
It makes us all sound like that.
It makes us all sound like, yeah, what? What are we thinking of?
I don't know where I was going to go with that. I hadn't thought that far ahead.
Like the whitest kids you know. But then, no, that's a wonderful band, actually. But
band?
Yeah, you know what I mean. Jaime, how are things down in Honduras?
I have somebody starting a car beside me, and it's really noisy.
Oh, yeah, they're having trouble with their fan belt down there.
Seriously, you can hear it, can't you? Hate it.
I feel like we very often start the show with an admonition to our listeners to be understanding to us because we have a lot to get through. But for some reason, like this week just seems really overwhelming. I'm looking at the rundown, and I can't remember one being this long in like a really long time. And ironically, like we have Jaime, we have you on the air. You're the iOS guy, and there's like one piece of iOS news this week.
It's not news.
Yeah, it's not news. It's like, hey, Jaime did this video. You should go watch it. But we'll get to that when we get to that, I guess. Before we jump in, we're gonna have a couple announcements here today. I would very much like to talk about them in order, and I think we're going to let Jaime do the last one, but let's kick off the announcements with a request to our listeners. It is improper to say we're up for an award. We are mainly seeking a nomination for an award. The 2013 Stitcher Awards are here. Stitcher is an app. Listeners, if some of you are listening to us through Stitcher right now, it's an app on several platforms that allows you to stream podcasts. And it's a pretty cool app. I actually like it. They're not paying us to say that. Nobody pays us. We don't have any sponsors on our little podcast. But it's an app I've been using.
By the way.
I know, exactly. If anyone would like to sponsor us, including Gunner Optics, nominate us for a Stitcher Award is my point. I've been using Stitcher since 2009 on WebOS, and I use it on Android now. It's a cool app. It's free. And for the second year in a row, they are having a series of awards. You can nominate us. There's a description there's a link in the description. It's the second week in a row I've done that. And you can nominate us in the field of technology if you want, or best new podcast, or best overall podcast if you're very kind. But
it sounds a lot better.
There. Doesn't that sound a lot better?
Yeah. Or best everything ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that one exists, but I nominate that category.
I think you can write in categories.
Best everything ever.
Best refrigerator repairman podcast. That's what I would like. So anyway, we really appreciate it if you guys would do that. The way it works is you can vote every day. So all the details are in the link, but you can vote once a day up till December 24th, I think, and then the nominations are announced on December 31st. So please vote once a day. I think you have to click a Facebook like button to do it, but it's not entirely clear whether you actually need a Facebook account. I think that's basically their CAPTCHA system. I don't know. Stephen, have you tried voting? Stephen, do you have a Facebook account?
I have not. Primarily because of that reason.
You should vote. You should vote, Stephen, for our show. You should be
I
a team
vote for
player.
us?
You know, I am a fan, I guess you could call me.
Yeah.
I don't dislike
Is it not wrong to vote for myself?
No, it's right. You have to do it. It's
So
like
this is how
it's like a
democracy should
presidential
work.
candidate,
Yeah,
right?
you
You
vote
should be
as
the
much as you
first one
want.
who votes for yourself. Yeah.
And you can vote every day for like a month long.
Although I think it's a pretty classy move for like if you're in a run and you vote for the other guy. I think that's a pretty classy move.
Then you lose by one vote.
Does that ever happen?
I don't think that ever happens because politicians aren't classy.
No, they're not.
No. So anyway, that's the deal there. That's enough of us appealing to your sense of charity. But really, no, if you like the show, please vote for us. Also happening this week, Pocketnow VIP 004 is happening, the fourth in our interview series. And this week we're meeting Mark from Soldier Knows Best. Do you guys, he's got like 600,000 subscribers. Have you guys watched his videos at all?
Yeah, big fan.
I was going to say, like, he's an iOS dude, so Jaime's got to speak up here, right?
Yeah.
I got called out for copying him. I didn't even know he existed back when I started my Xbox Live account, and my gamer tag is Casper Knows Best.
Wow.
I had no idea Soldier Knows Best existed back then, and people were like, "Why are you copying Soldier?" I'm like,
You're
I have no idea.
Isn't it Daddy Knows Best? Wasn't that an old, or Father Knows Best, an old TV show?
You know,
I have no idea.
I don't know what that reference is, but
I
I
watched
think
a lot of TV Land back in the day.
So did I. I think we got our first question for the VIP. Where'd your username come from, brother?
He stole it from my gamer tag. That's what he did. No.
Yeah, Father Knows Best, 1954.
I'm also going to conduct the entire VIP using the Hulk Hogan voice from the 80s, if that's
Yeah,
all
all
right,
He wants to do it right now.
Check out these pythons, brother.
Give me 20.
Yeah. Okay, so
Can I do Ric Flair?
except you're going to peek us, so don't do it right now. I don't want any woos on the air right now. We already did that in the last one. Watch also. Thank you. So just stay tuned for that. That's going up on Friday. And also, in the last in a series of announcements, you should watch the Pocketnow Daily. You're listening to the Pocketnow Weekly, but if you don't start your day with the Pocketnow Daily, I'm pretty sure you're doing it wrong. Jaime, isn't that right?
Or your night.
Or your night. Yeah, the Daily goes up at obscene hours of the morning.
Yeah, don't remind me. Remind me.
I actually use the Pocketnow Daily.
Can I ask a question, Jaime?
Please.
Yeah.
When do you sleep?
That's a good question.
You're always awake. Like, I send you an email at, like, my 4 a.m., and you're like, yeah, man. And, like, I'll wake up, and I'll send you an email when I wake up, and it's, I guess, what, like, 6 a.m. there, and you're like, yeah, man. I'm like, oh, what? Like, when do you sleep?
I have the oddest sleeping habits ever. Like, for example, at 4 a.m. that you wake up, if you write me at 4 a.m., that's 3 a.m. my time. I sometimes wake up to run at that time.
I don't know. I think we have a prestige situation going on here. We have a pair of twins filling the place of one man, and doing all that.
That's a great movie. I used to love that.
Man, you just creeped me out, Steven. That movie is really, but a great movie. I agree. So watch the Pocketnow Daily. I generally do it to prepare for this podcast so that I know what's been going on in the news. Sadly, it doesn't help very often. I still don't know what's going on in the news because we've been in review mode for basically ever. But
yes. What is it? It's been like 3 months. I don't even like remember what day or month it is right now. I'm just kind of like coasting.
About every 40 minutes, I have to stop and go, wait, what day is it? Because I have no idea.
I've got to ask. Well, I have you guys here.
Yeah, you know, it sounds like complaining, Jaime, right? It sounds like we're belly aching about. No, I still love being buried under a flood of devices. And this.
I was about to say, stop complaining. You've got my shipping address. Let me help you.
Speaking of which, Jaime, have you yet received the Nubia 5?
It should arrive today, but I'm still waiting for them to call me up, so I have to wait.
All right. Jaime Rivera's taking a look at the ZTE Nubia 5, which is not in the rundown. So if you just jumped right to Android or Windows Phone, you fanboys, you missed that bit of fun news.
I've seen a number of readers asking us, do we have a 2520 review coming anywhere in the pipeline?
So let's talk about that. I think, I think we may have hinted at this. But
they keep asking for my review of the G-Pad 8.3 as well.
Yeah, so the review process does not always go smoothly, and sometimes that is not directly our fault. We had trouble with our demo unit on the G-Pad 8.3. Sometimes it is. So one of them was not our fault. The G-Pad 8.3 was not our fault. That was a faulty demo unit, and by the time we would have gotten a replacement, the review would no longer have been timely enough for us to basically get enough views to make it worth it. I know that sounds really horribly view count horror worthy and stuff, but ultimately we do have to make some business decisions from time to time. So it's a shame
because we are buried.
Yeah, and it's a shame because Jaime, as I recall, you really liked that.
I really did. It was a really, really good tablet. You know, even with the software and everything, I feel that LG did a really good job with it. It just had a little bit of a boot loop problem.
Right.
Every time the thing would discharge, it would start a boot loop, and until it was fully charged, it would work again. It was crazy.
In the finest example of demo god like pettiness. When we sent it back to LG, our contact at LG was like, "Yeah, I've been like putting that unit through its paces, and I can't get it to do anything wrong." I'm like, "Man, demo gods,
Really?
damn you!" But anyway, so that's the story with that. And then the 2520 was my fault. We sent it via our shipping courier to Taylor because Taylor was going to do the review because I was buried, and the shipping company lost it.
Oh.
That sounds like it would be their fault, but in fact it was my fault for not insisting that a signature was required. So we've learned our lesson, a very expensive lesson. We are trying to get another 2520, but...
or just open call to anyone who has our 2520 and would like to film a review. Please send it to us.
Yeah, shoot that review if you wouldn't
Or
mind.
at least film the review. We can work that.
You know, we can work it out.
It's got to be somebody in my complex, or the UPS guy or FedEx guy or whatever. But it has to be somebody who lives near me.
I mean, in fairness, it was like the shadiest situation ever when I dropped it off, because I was in New York City for the PepCom event, I think, that Adam Lane and Brandon and I covered, and... like, it was after that event. It was like the middle of the night, and I'm like, I have to get this out right away. So I was at this FedEx office location in the middle of the night, and nothing was shady about the location itself. Nothing seemed off, but it definitely, I don't know. I don't know what happened. Something happened.
And that's like a first time ever. I mean, we've done this for so long, but well.
Yeah, I know.
Not just we ship, it's going to happen sooner or later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. We're shipping multiple boxes back and forth to each other all the time. Anyway, that's starting to talk about review logistics, which gets real boring. So we're not going to talk about that anymore. We'll get a 2520 replacement at some point, folks. So thanks for your patience.
Jaime just messaged me, and he said he took 3 naps during that discussion. So that's how he sleeps.
Nice. And Jaime, I just got Jaime's message from 9 minutes ago. Sorry. I don't pay attention to the chat when we're on this thing. So here we go, guys. Is everybody ready? Should we jump into Android and start getting this news taken care of?
Yeah,
no, actually, I'd like to talk about Randy Savage.
Cut off his mic.
Damn, I missed this. I really missed this.
I'm glad. It's so good to have you back, Jaime.
Let's talk about Thunder in Paradise.
Here we go with the Android news. And it's nice because this is the first show we're doing where we have little sound clips for all of the category leaders instead of just listener mail. By the way, no listener mail this week. Sorry, team. Sad face. New Google Play devices. Holy crap, did anyone see this coming? Who wants to take us through this news? Because I sure didn't know that this was going to happen. Steven, you want to tell us what happened?
Yeah, sure. So this all sort of started out with when we first got inklings of a new version of what seemed like a new version of the G-Pad 8.3. People thought it might be a new Nexus tablet. There was a leak. It was very, very little info. It just had that LG name. It was a tablet, and it said something about Google in this tiny little database entry, just like a blip on the radar. I got us really curious about it. Then, like a day later, someone found out LG has files on this device on its server, legitimate, official, everything. Pull them up. It's clearly spelled out as a Google Play Edition G-Pad 8.3, which is the first Google Play Edition tablet we've ever seen. Yeah. And then just out of nowhere, it's just hours after it, less than 12 hours after this was found, Google just, it's like they did with the the Nexus 5 this year, Nexus 4 last year. They just plops up on the website, no big deal about it, except we get not only the G-Pad 8.3, we get a Google Play Edition Xperia Z Ultra, and a new flavor Nexus 7. It's a trifecta.
Now, the white Nexus 7, I have a feeling Taylor's going to talk about it because he ordered one for some reason. But let's talk about the exciting devices first. Who would have guessed that a Z Ultra would be the next Google Play Edition smartphone?
Wait a second. You said exciting devices. Let's talk about the G-Pad 8.3, please.
Yeah. Wow. Well, let's vote. I mean, Jaime and Taylor are obviously in the G-Pad camp. Steven, you're the tiebreaker.
G-Pad.
Oh, you guys are all jerks.
Damn.
Sorry, it's cheap.
Now, if the G-Pad had the Xperia, or not the Xperia, but the Z Ultra's specs, then yeah, we could talk about. I'd be super excited. But the G-Pad, the Snapdragon 600, kind of meh.
So that's what's in the G-Pad, the Snap 600?
Yeah.
It's a good chip. Come on.
Yeah, it is.
It's good.
It's a really solid chip. Wait, Taylor, you're falling into spec, spec traps. I don't understand.
It's a great chip. It performs well, and the battery life on that tablet is better than any Snapdragon 600 phone out there.
Right,
So, the only reason why you would want a Snapdragon 800 on a tablet is not really necessary for that tablet.
Gaming.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
That's
unless
why,
you want to go gaming,
That's
right?
what That's why I'd prefer the Snapdragon 800.
It played really well, man. My problem was really having it die and not being able to wake it up again. But after that,
so this is my question, guys. Like, I don't play the most resource intensive games, but I play like Asphalt 8 and I play Rise of Glory Air Superiority or whatever, and those are fairly taxing. And they run great on a 600. They even run great on the weirdo computing system in the Moto X. So why do I need an 800? Can someone make the case for this for me besides the quick charging thing and the
visuals,
and the
man?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't feel like I'd lose any visuals playing those games on a 600.
It's like an Adreno 320 versus 330.
Exactly right. Now I understand that's a big jump, but it doesn't.
I need light reflections and lens flares and I need all that, man. I need it.
So you're saying that side by side, you're making the case that because I think you're talking about Asphalt 8, right?
Just in general, like I just had a better experience in general with a Snapdragon 800.
How can you live with that Nexus 7 then? I mean,
well, there's a reason that I bought the Nexus 7. I don't know if we want to get into that, but
no, we don't.
Okay, cool. I'm basically replacing my car audio system with a tablet, and the Nexus 7 is the tablet that fits perfectly in the slot.
I'm sorry, we do want to ask about this. So this is a project for Mod, right?
Yeah.
So, pimp it for a second, Taylor. If you don't know, Taylor has a nice side project.
Yeah, well, I was told not to, but if you're telling me, Brandon.
The forces that be.
But yeah,
it's
okay.
Just,
so
you can mention it's a podcast. You can mention it. It's not a
It's my YouTube channel that I started with my roommate. We haven't really done a whole lot with it because I've been so buried under devices. But basically, it's a do-it-yourself YouTube channel, and what I will be doing is mounting the Nexus 7 in my car's dash. So I'll be taking out the double DIN stereo that came in it and putting a Nexus 7, a wireless charger, a Bluetooth module, and some custom fiberglass housing in its place.
Just rocking. That's awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Now, you got the white one so that you could use the white one, and then you're going to put the black one in your car, I assume?
Well, the black one is actually Pocketnow's, so I don't think that Pocketnow wants me to put that in the car.
So wait, you're putting a white one in your car?
Yeah.
So I don't understand why you picked the white one. I mean, isn't all the white going to be obscured by whatever casing you install around it?
Well, it's going to be removable. The way I'm going to do the mod is going to be removable, so I can take it with me. But I got the white one just because it was cool, and because when they announced it, they also did the little $35 Google Play promotion, so I got another Chromecast.
Nice. All right.
Well, that's just all. Like I was going to buy another Nexus 7 anyway, and then it just kind of happened. I'm like, I need it now. So.
All right. Well, that's the least interesting of all three, with the exception of your mod project. So good luck with that. Follow
Thanks.
Taylor on his Twitter account if you want to see that develop over time. But guys, let's talk a little bit then about the what's missing from the GPE edition of the G Pad, because it's all the LG skin, right? It's Google Play edition, so it's just stock Android 4. What?
Yeah.
4, I want to say.
Is it 4.4?
Yeah. 4.4.
So it's missing all of the stuff that of course LG built in.
It's not missing anything. All right, let's go.
Sick burn.
I actually tweeted today. I said, Google Play Edition, LG G Flex. Google, make it happen.
Oh my God!
I've had this.
That was a good tweet.
That's
That was a good
crazy
tweet.
talk.
Man, I've had this phone. Like, I really wasn't excited about the G Flex. Like, I don't know if you guys. I'm not a huge fan of LG, and it's not their fault. It's just their products haven't really moved me. And
generally, I've been in the same boat. I understand.
Yeah, and I think most of us have. But this phone, it's just there's something about it. I can't put a finger on it. I took it out of the box, and I'm like, man, this thing it's nice. Like, I really like it.
Right.
I don't know why, but okay.
I really like that G2.
Can I clarify though? I like it if you turn the volume off and leave it off.
Oh my God!
Is the speaker that bad?
No, it's not the speaker. No, it's
Sound
Steven.
effects?
The speaker is amazing, but the sound effect. So LG got the Vienna Boys Choir to do a bunch of custom ringtones. Oh God! And when you wake up, and I've done this on the podcast before, but if you set an alarm, Taylor, and you wake up to that phone waking you up with the default ringtone, it's the creepiest thing ever. It is, you know, soprano and alto boys singing "Good Morning" to you, and it's just horrible.
You're gonna have a bad day.
Experience this.
Oh god!
But it's not just the sounds, like the ringtones and everything. Literally everything you do on the phone makes a noise.
Well, it's like a Galaxy S4 in that respect. Boop.
Yeah, well, Samsung's bad about it, and I always said that Samsung was the worst about all the noises. But I think LG was like, you know what? We're going to top them. We're going to make it better. And
This sounds like the depiction of all technology from the future in movies. Everything has a sound effect to it.
Oh yeah, everything beeps all the time. Yeah. No, so well, we're going to talk a little bit about the G Flex. I'm glad that you got it. Taylor has one, and I have one now, and they both have to go away at some point. But if you missed it, watch our full review and stuff. We talked about that last week. This is actually the first Pocketnow Weekly in a long time that hasn't had G Flex in the title. So
Yes.
I think the news cycle moves on. It's all right.
We're coming
We're
on.
not going to ask you any questions about it anyway, so let's go.
Great. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nobody cares anyway. Nobody has read the review, and nobody on the Pocketnow Live asked me anything about it last week.
You know what my problem with that G Flex is? That price tag. If it weren't so pricey, I would be like, oh, why not? I love the G2. I honestly did.
See,
I would love to
didn't.
try that G Flex.
That's the thing. I love that LG does this. Like, they do this thing where they release a bunch of things that I'm not into, which they did right before the Optimus G. And I'm like, and then the Optimus G came out, and I'm like, oh, fine, I guess I'll review this. And it was really good. I was like, sweet.
Yeah.
And then the G2 came out, and I was like, I'm not really sold on this. And then Jaime, of course, you were, but I was like, whatever, okay, LG.
Yeah, and they
then
keep
they
putting
released
out,
the
like-
Flex, and then I'm like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever.
And then they'll have like 5 mid-rangers and a new view, and we'll be like,
Yeah, it's so weird. It's like a roller coaster. But you know who put it best, and I wish this had been my quote, but it's not. Digital Trends had a review, which LG tweeted. And by the way, LG, if you wanted to tweet my review, I'd really love that. That'd be great. But Digital Trends had a wonderful review where there's a quote that was like, going back to a flat phone somehow feels wrong after using the G Flex. That's not an exact quote, but it's so true. I mean, after you've used it for a little bit, you pick up any other phone, and you're like, oh, how did we go about using these flat things for a very long time? Anyway, that's the G Flex conversation we promised we wouldn't have.
Yeah, if you want to go from one extreme to the other, you go from the G Flex to the Z Ultra.
I was just going to make that. Thank you. You've redeemed yourself. Yes, that's exactly it. The opposite end is the Z Ultra, which is now GPE edition available. Guys, does anyone, if you had to choose, which one would you pick? Everyone answer. The stock Z Ultra or the GPE edition? Or the GPE, sorry. I hate it when people do that.
I'm sorry, was none an option?
No, it's not an
I was
option.
about to say.
You hater.
None.
If you had to get one, if you're getting one under the Christmas tree or at the Hanukkah bush or in your stocking, wherever,
Google Play all day.
Google Play Edition. What about you,
Yeah.
Stephen?
Google Play.
And Jaime?
I'd be standing at Best Buy to return it.
I told you you're not
Give
allowed
me
to
this
do
one.
that. See, I don't understand. I don't know what I would do. I actually kind of like Sony's skin. Am I the only one in the world?
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
I don't hate their skin, but it's just when you compare their skin to Google Play's, the Google Play edition, it's a different beast,
Well,
man.
this segues into something that I wanted to ask you gentlemen about before I wrote an editorial about it. How long do you think it'll be until we see a native Android version that can take advantage of larger screen sizes? Because right now, it really can't. You need a third-party skin to do, for example, multi-window.
Yeah, I would love to have multi-window in
stock Android.
stock
Right?
Android. I would be in heaven.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
That won't happen.
Same here.
Why won't
Same
it happen?
here.
See, I mean, the devices are growing, by
Yeah,
leaps
but
and bounds.
when Samsung does it, the company can get away with making it only work with their specific subset of apps they wanted to. If Google released this as a baked-in feature, it would have to be compatible with pretty much everything, and that's going to be so much more work that I just can't see it happening.
Well, is that true?
I don't think so.
Google
No,
can't
no.
just say like you need to. You can
But
turn this
would
on or
Google
off in
do
your
that?
app.
No, well, okay, look at Samsung. They limit them by default. So they limit what apps work by default. There was a simple hack that a developer put together, and you can actually get it if you're rooted. You can get it from Google Play, and it's like multi-window management or
Yeah, I
manager or
remember
something
all
like
the
that.
hacks we saw back last year when they came
Literally.
out with XDA.
all you had to do was just a simple like tweak, very simple, and every app worked perfectly with it.
Really? So there's no compatibility issues with, I don't know, like full screen, everything is full screen.
No,
like games or anything? Well, maybe
games.
Position then.
You would want to limit games. Because
Yeah,
you wouldn't want to.
like, what are you going to do? Like, play Asphalt while you're like watching a YouTube video? That's like the worst
Tilting
thing
the
ever.
video.
But pretty much every app works because if you develop your Android apps correctly, they should be able to work the same on any screen size, and that includes something with a 1:1 aspect ratio or 4:3 or something to that effect. So they're meant to scale, and with multi-window, all you're doing is basically putting two views, quote views, side by side. So
not views, not VU.
no, not views.
Because then you have a Kyocera Echo.
Ugh.
Yeah. Thank you for the clarification on that. We're going to think more about that in the future as we write our editorial stuff. But okay, so I'm the only one who would get the Z Ultra, but I would pay a big premium if I were shopping in the Google Play Edition store for that phone right now. $650. Yeah,
Par for the course.
Yeah.
See, would they make?
I'm not saying
make
it's
a
overpriced
G-Flex?
because think about it. Like the G Flex, the GPE G-Pad 8.3, which is a mouthful, is $350. Yes, but you cannot. I don't think it's as attractive a device as the Sony product, and also you can't take it like in the shower, which sounds like I'm making a stupid joke, but I really, really value water resistance in my products.
I don't find. Listen, this is coming from a guy that sweats like a pig and runs with his phones. Mm-hmm. I would love a waterproof phone, but it is just the most uncomfortable and cumbersome size and form factor that I've ever seen.
Have you used one though? Have you actually like used one for a bit?
Yeah. I kind of did, but how can I explain this to you? One of my friends brought it with him, so I didn't really use it for a week or test it for a week. I just held it, toyed around with it, and I was like, oh my god, how can you put up with a thing this big? It's like, if it were rounded, it could probably be a little more comfortable to use. But I don't know. Listen, I love.
It's really thin and light though too. It's
but
not
it's
like a 1 Max or a 1520.
It's like putting a clipboard in your pocket, man.
Well,
it's
it's not pocket friendly.
Doesn't it have that little loop on the bottom so you can hook like a keychain up to it? You can just dangle it from like a wallet chain.
Dangle it from your wrist lanyard. Oh my god!
Yeah, so you can be Flava Flav with a Z Ultra.
That's a neck lanyard.
Yeah.
This phone reminds me of the Optimus View. That's what it reminds me of. It's just one of those awkward things that they can do, and they did, but that doesn't have a market.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I don't think the market it has is very big at all, but
don't say that. I said that in the review, and I got reamed.
Oh no. But, this is why I was happy to do that review rebuttal, because I was like, you know what? If I were in the market for a device of this class, and by that I mean a 6+ inch screen size or a near 6 inch screen size like the 1 Max, the 1520, the Mega 6.3, and this thing, the Z Ultra. If I were in the market for a device that big that I wanted to use as a tablet replacement, I would get the Z Ultra because it's the thinnest, and I don't know if it's the lightest, but it's definitely the thinnest of the bunch. And as a result, it's the least cumbersome for me. And in addition, you get beautiful build quality and waterproof build.
I'm with you there, but I just think that for a lot of people, the size is a non-starter. Any other issues about dimensions?
No, that's
listen. For me,
I had to get that other way right up front. Like, you have to be shopping for this type of device.
Right.
You have to be.
I disagree. It's going to be the most popular thing ever because everybody loves putting clipboards in their pockets.
What, Jaime? What were you going to say?
Exactly. Listen, I mean, the Galaxy Note 3 has killed phablets everywhere, and it's just going to be that way. For that price tag, why not just get a Note 3 and get something that you can actually still fit in your pocket, that's got the best processor, the best battery life, the best everything, and just, deal with TouchWiz, which is the only sad part about that phone. That's my problem, I guess, with the Z Ultra or any other phablet.
This is not in the rundown, but speaking of the Galaxy Note and how it compares, I just posted a comparison between the G Flex and the Galaxy Note 3. So if you're interested in how those devices compare, go watch that, because that was a fun comparison. Because Jaime, it spoke directly to your point. It's like anytime we bring a phone up against the Note 3, the other phone basically loses. Right, because it doesn't have as solid a phablet experience. The G Flex probably has come the closest, and it's not because I'm an idiot fanboy. It's because it really does get quite close to offering everything the Note 3 does, with the exception of the S Pen. So,
and it focuses more on user experience and form factor, than just, hey, this is giant.
exactly.
You know, and that's something that I detest, like a giant phone for the sake of being giant. Also, nobody wants to watch your comparison, Michael, because it includes the G Flex. Just saying.
Yeah, speaking of the G Flex, Brandon was just bugging me to sell my G Flex. I just just now got an email. He's like, "Hey, weren't you supposed to sell that thing?" I'm like, "Oh God." So hey, check Swappa for a slightly tear stained G Flex soon.
You didn't want to
tear stained.
Yeah,
I'm
just gonna cry all over it. What?
You didn't want to prod and see if he'd give it to you for Christmas?
That's what I want to do, but I don't have the courage. Maybe our listeners can write in, can start a letter writing campaign. Dear
Here's
Brandon
his home
Miniman,
address.
Michael Fisher wants this. So anyway,
let's be honest. They're going to spell his name.
Brandon. Oh, sad news. Brandon will not be joining us at CES this year. Sorry. Yeah, frown on.
Does that mean there's an extra ticket available by any chance?
I was hoping we still would really like a 4-man team, but we don't. I don't think we're doing that. So Anton, Taylor,
that was going to happen.
You knew that was going to happen, huh?
I knew that was going to. That was going to happen. That was too good to be true.
It was. It would have been an all-star team. Now it's a 75% all-star team.
That's a 3-wheeled wagon. What are we going to do?
I wish you were going to be there, Jaime. I really do.
Yeah. I'm just gonna have. I'm gonna have to swap that for Barcelona. Sorry about that.
All right. Hey, so listen. Let's talk about another phone, huh? Can we move on? Okay, let's talk about the Moto G. Taylor just posted his review. I just got mine in the mail. I actually woke up. The first thing I woke up to today was my door buzzer telling me the FedEx man was here, and I got a Moto G. So we both have Moto Gs. Let's hear about it.
You either sleep way too late, or you have an awesome FedEx guy.
Oh man, now they show up at like 7:30. Like, hey man, we got stuff. We got stuff for you.
And speaking about that, FedEx just called me. The ZTE Nubia just arrived. I have to go pick it up soon, so I'll keep you posted.
Oh, awesome. Good stuff.
Yeah. So this Moto G, I gave it a 7.7 out of 10. I don't want to spoil the review, but that's the score I gave it. And I feel like it's a pretty fair score because it is a very cheap device, and its specifications and everything else. Motorola had to cut corners to make this phone. They only spent $125 or something to make it.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, that's what they said.
Yeah, that's just for the hardware component. So that's not including cost of manufacturing, labor, marketing, and all this other stuff. That's just the actual price of the hardware. And if I'm not mistaken, after you add everything up and the $500 million that Google spent on marketing, Motorola or Google as a whole is taking a loss on this phone.
No. They said
that was for the Moto X.
$10.
Sorry,
is what the estimate was.
Sorry, the $500 million was for the Moto X. Sorry, that was actually in the beginning of my review. I'm like crossing wires here, but so $10 after everything, I still think they're probably, taking a hit at some point, some way. $10 is not a lot of margin, but for them to turn out a phone that at least I feel deserves a 7.7, I think that's a good thing. But in the comments, I'm getting blasted again because people are like, it deserves a 10 out of 10, or it deserves more than a 7.
There's always going to be those jerks. It doesn't matter. Score.
Well, I want to set it straight.
Let's not talk about the score, but go ahead, say your piece, and then let's move on. Because I really don't want to spend any time on scoring bullshit. No one.
Yeah.
I gotta. Damn it. All right.
Naughty.
Yeah, I know. Go ahead, Taylor.
Okay. So here's the thing. We don't include price in how we make our scores.
I think tell me if I'm wrong, but I think what you mean to say is that scoring is a much, much more imprecise science than simply taking a blend of the scored for me with the 3 principal scoring cards.
Yeah, sure, but just because the phone is $200 and it's not terrible doesn't mean it's an automatic 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 or any of that. It's a lot more complicated than that, and I feel completely just with 7.7 out of 10 for this device.
I agree with your score.
What did we give the HTC first, if anyone remembers? Because that's kind of on the same level of this.
I reviewed it, actually, and I don't remember.
HTC first review, Pocketnow.
Better or worse than the Moto G, would you say?
Yeah, what would you say, Taylor? And then I'll tell you what you said.
I don't know. I'm going to look it up.
The HTC first scored an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that didn't have the benefit of price, or not nearly as much.
Not as much.
Listen, I think that in the case of this Moto G, I think it's a disruptive phone, but we can't review a phone and tell people it's an awesome device when it really isn't. I mean, if a price tag is a factor that's important, and it is for a lot of people, then great. This is one of the best phones to pick if the budget is a thing, but you can't give it a 10 out of 10 and compare it to a Galaxy Note 3, for example. You just can't.
Yeah.
This entire scoring discussion, like this tiny talk we have had, and I'm putting it in past tense for a reason, is indicative of how messed up scores are in general.
Yeah,
they do not age
I
gracefully. They change over time. We don't change them over time because it would be a massive amount of work. This is why when you come to a review and you read the score and then you skip the entire review, go to the comments and start arguing about the score, you do yourself a disservice because you're not actually getting the messaging we're supposed to be putting out there. But we cannot do it at this time. What the hell is that?
Sorry, buddy.
Did you move next to like a dance hall?
Falling on the floor.
What was that?
Jaime's side
That
business is a cement
that
mixer
was a
manufacturing plant.
That was a truck. Sorry about that.
All right, so listen, let's not talk
And
anymore
you're
about
riding in the
scores.
bed of this truck?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Taylor, so the question is, for example, I want to buy my father and my mother a Christmas gift. I really want to buy them a Moto G. I mean, you think it's from your review and from everything after putting it together, I mean, I'm really excited. I think this is like a really compelling gift, not for me because it's too little for me, but it's really something that I would love to give somebody at that price tag. It's crazy not to.
Yeah, I'm sad to have to send it back. I mean, I probably wouldn't use it, but it's a great phone. Like, honestly, it'd be something that I would say you should use when you're working out because, hey, if it gets water damage while you're working out because you're sweating too much, oh well, it was a $200 phone. It's not like you're missing, losing a $600 phone.
That's a question. Can I jump in with a question real quick, Taylor? I didn't catch this in your review, but are the boards coated with Motorola's nano coating in this one? Do you know?
I heard somewhere it was, but I didn't know it before the review.
Okay, I'll dig on that. And sorry, keep making your point.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it's one of those phones that you kind of feel like, if it gets damaged or destroyed, whatever, move on because it was $200, no contract. It's one of those good, like, if you break your phone, this is something you can fall back on. It's a good, budget phone that you can toss around and not worry about. Like if I go climbing, I like to go climbing. If I go climbing, this is something I'd pop my SIM in and take with me because every time I've gone climbing, I've scratched and damaged one of my other phones.
Yeah, I think this phone is more disruptive than a lot of people are thinking that it is. I mean, right now you can go buy a Galaxy Ace or a Galaxy Duos for like $300 and something, and these are HVGA displays with terrible processors, terrible performance, and now you've got the Moto G for $200, and it's got very little to envy from most, if not all, mid-tier phones. Actually, even some high-end phones from early this year.
So I wrote an editorial about as much as this. The only way that it's going to avoid disrupting the market is if somehow other manufacturers prevent it from being available as widely as we would like it to be.
Yeah.
No,
I agree.
Sure.
And so to answer my own question, yes, it does have the nano coating, and some brave soul made a 6-minute YouTube video dropping it in a sink full of water and then like drying it out. It works fine. It's
wait a second. So he didn't do the shower rubber ducky video that somebody did that I know that works for Pocketnow?
We have a copyright on that particular approach.
Yeah, so I apparently
is like the most
overlooked
hilarious scene, man.
I read all of Motorola's promotional stuff and everything, and I apparently overlooked that. But
well, maybe they didn't
somebody pointed out in
call
the
it
comments,
but it is there. Yeah. So that's great. That's just another example of like, wow, this is what you get for $179, and that's pretty rad. I've used the Moto G all day. I'm about to write a review on it right after the podcast. Excuse me, not a review, an editorial on it right after the podcast, because it has floored me. Not necessarily that, like, okay, Taylor, you made some great points. The camera stinks. The speaker is not that great. There are compromises that this budget phone has made. But none of the compromises, in my experience, have prevented me from doing literally anything that I would do with one of my daily drivers like the Moto X.
Yep.
And I'm talking about the like, not the accessories, not like active display and stuff, but the pylons that make up my daily smartphone experience. I've been using it all day, and I'm like, wow, I could actually carry this. I wouldn't because I value other things, but if I needed to, I could buy this in a pinch, and it would do me fine.
Did you face any
Those are
problems
exact
with the
points
multitasking?
Yeah, and that's
I'm sorry, Stephen, are you asking about multitasking? Say again?
Yeah, I got the impression from Calor's experience with it that the one thing it really didn't do well was multitasking.
Oh,
with the limited RAM.
Yeah, the only reason is because after you flip between two apps, every other app is going to have to completely reload. It's very aggressive in how it manages your RAM because it only has 1 gig, and we've kind of, I guess, been spoiled with 2 or 3 gigabytes of RAM. So when you switch apps, they're closing a lot more quickly than you're used to, or at least than I'm used to.
Yeah, I had like an Amazon Kindle card that was maybe 5 or 6 cards old, and I just went back to it. It had to reload the book and my place in it. So yeah, I see what you're talking about there.
Yeah, but throughout my entire review, I had probably a third of it, or maybe half of it, as Stephen will probably tell you, is referencing the Moto X. And I didn't want to do that when I started writing the review. I didn't want to make I didn't want to make it a Moto X comparison because that's not what it was. Mm-hmm. But in a sense, it is, because Motorola managed to capture most of what makes the Moto X so great without this giant price tag. So it's a great phone, and it's almost as great as the Moto X, but it's a third of the price.
It's interesting. We were talking a little earlier about the cost to manufacture this, and I was thinking, well, what would it actually take to bring the Moto G up to Moto X level specs? Pay a little more for a more powerful SoC, add that extra gig of RAM. And I pulled up some estimates here. Apparently, the Moto X really does cost quite a bit more to make. The bill of materials is estimated at $209 compared to the 120-something we were talking about.
And remember, the Moto G is not manufactured in the U.S.
Well, the Moto X isn't either. It's just assembled.
Well, that 209 figure is not including manufacturing costs.
Yeah. Wow. See, I think Motorola would do themselves a favor if they sold the Moto X at $350 to begin with.
Yeah.
Well, so this whole thing we were talking about was, they're not going to make a lot of profit off this Moto G, but that's not the point. They're going to fill the emerging markets with a mid-range Android phone that blows everything else away, and they're going to do it without making a lot of money, but they're going to get that market share and kind of reestablish the brand that's kind of been lost.
Now that's my question. Awesome. My question in that vein is, how will it do against the similarly cheap Lumia 520? Because I was having a conversation with Brandon and Anton earlier, where I was like, listen, we need to do a comparison about this like right now. And I'm very interested in how this pans out, because the Lumia 520 right now, do you know, guys, can someone tell me how much it is at the Microsoft store right now? I know, but does anyone else know?
It was $50. It was $50 during the sale.
And now, do you know how much it's gone up since Black Friday?
Go ahead.
It's gone up by $20. It's $59 for a Lumia 520 right now. And going back in my head over what I've been able to do with the Moto G all day, I can't think of something that I did on the Moto G that I'm not going to be able to do on the 520.
So the problem with the Lumia 520 is that because of the RAM limitation, remember that Windows Phone, actually there are certain things, and specifically in Nokia applications, that are very limited on that phone. I thought that things were supposed to be great, but then when I was putting together Adam's review, I started learning that, there are a lot of limitations to the phone. So it's not like in the case of the Moto G where you can get the full Android experience without compromise on the Moto G. You won't get that same experience on the 520.
Isn't this what the 525 is supposed to address?
That's what the 525
RAM,
exactly. That's what the 525 addresses. But in the case of the 520, it is not the same thing. So I mean, it's a $50 phone. I mean, it's like, why would I spend $50 last night in beer? I mean, come on.
You party animal.
It's a $50 phone. That is like crazy. I could use that. I don't know, I could give it to my dog. I mean, come on.
$50.
I give $50 to my dog every Thursday just to show him I love him.
He earned it.
All right, so listen, we got to move on, guys. We're behind on time even more than usual because our rundown is so long. So Taylor, do you have any final thoughts on the Moto G other than just directing people to your review?
No, not aside from the fact that I would recommend this to a lot of people. A lot of people who are looking for a phone. Someone who's a first-time buyer, people looking for a first-time phone for their teenager, grandparents. It's just that phone that kind of fits the bill for a lot of different people. People who don't have a lot of needs with their smartphone. But even those who do, this still works. It's just not going to, really appeal to us, the power users. So there's that.
No, there is that. I love it. What's next on the rundown, guys? I'm having a discussion on the side here. Yeah. Stephen, just read this headline verbatim, please.
LG G2 Mini could be the largest quote-unquote mini phone yet.
I love
It's
it.
a big one.
HTC was the manufacturer we made fun of last for building a mini phone that really wasn't all that mini. And now it looks like that this one, if it's real, might be an even bigger offender, yeah?
Well, if we look at Mini just as screen size, LG did some great things with the G2 with the bezel. So even if so what we're talking about is, I think, a 4.7 incher, which is not mini by any phone we've seen released to date, but it could be physically smaller than devices like the HTC One just by optimizing the face of the screen so it's face of the phone so it's mostly the screen.
Sure, because Motorola did the same thing with the Moto X. I know we just got done talking about Moto, but that still doesn't feel like a 4.7-inch screen.
No, it's about the same size as the iPhone.
Right. Yeah, which is crazy. So, Jaime makes a good point in that apparently we skipped something. What are you talking about?
I don't know. We didn't, but go ahead, continue.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Sorry. So anyway, the G2 Mini, I feel like, first of all, you can make a phone much smaller than the HTC One with little or no effort because you don't have to bundle in the boom sound speakers, right? Because the One is one of the bigger 4.7-inch devices out there. But is there
It's not mini. It's still not mini.
My point in bringing this into the rundown was to ask the question, has any manufacturer really seen a lot of success selling mini versions of its phones?
I can't imagine they have.
No.
There's no way.
And so they do it because the capability is there. They can manufacture them, and it will service a small niche of people who would otherwise go elsewhere. Because if we don't do it, somebody else is going to do a mini phone. So, I was just in a Sprint store the other day. I saw a Galaxy S4 Mini for the first time. Maybe not for the first time, but for the first time I was paying attention.
Did you point and laugh?
No, I liked it, and I understood why Samsung did it, because if I were the type of person, which I was at one point, to go into a store and be like, listen, big phones are freaking lame, man. I don't want to carry a shoe in my pocket. Like, just give me something with a manageable palm size. The S4, if I was like a normal person, the S4 would have caught my eye for a little bit, actually. So...
Yeah, but every time that I see a friend of mine with an S3 Mini, for example, I feel sorry for them. Because, for example, here, the price difference between the S3 Mini and the S3 back then wasn't really significant. And, you don't get any software updates. You don't get anything. So it's like, what I hate about the whole Mini mentality is that they are really giving very minimal support to that phone. Yeah.
Sorry, the moped I don't know why that was funny, but that was funny.
Everyone's getting distracted by vehicles today.
Yeah, I know. No, it's a good point, though.
I think what you were saying about the store is probably right on point here. I don't think anyone actually goes out looking for one of these mini versions of flagships, but you stumble across them when you're looking for something else, and it can seem like, maybe a
good idea.
And you're going to settle, but you want something smaller, and it's the best thing available.
And the trick that is built into the branding works. It's like, here's the flagship name to catch your eye. Here's Mini right after it. Oh, so it's probably the same thing in a smaller footprint. Of course, we've had the discussion why that's not the case. But my question is, does the LG G2 have enough cred at this point to where they can expect to sell a lot of versions of the Mini, because they haven't sold many G2s?
No, what did we hear about that figure? Like 2.5 million, maybe 3? What was it?
Yeah, it was something like that. I think we talked about it last week. So that's... concerning. And meanwhile, the other half of the company, or not other half, but another division within the company, another portion of the same division within the company, is making a product like the G Flex, which is kind of I don't know, blowing me away. Maybe I'm alone in that, but it just strikes me as odd that they would dedicate any resources to making a mini version of a phone that is a fine phone, but isn't really selling.
If they called it anything else, we wouldn't be having this discussion. If it was just the LG G something.
The LG G Small, yeah.
No, just a 4.7-inch phone with these specs, I think we wouldn't worry about what it was called. It's a good point to have in their lineup.
Right, so maybe that's a good point, Stephen. Maybe the discussion went like, listen, we're going to build a phone in the mid-range line anyway. If we call it, what do they call their mid-range? I actually don't know.
The F is the better mid-range. The LTE-capable ones, or the F series?
Oh, the F series, yeah. So if we call it an F series, not a lot of people are going to get excited. If we're going to build this anyway, why don't we just call it a G2 Mini and see what that does to sales? I understand. I respect that. I mean, we play with YouTube titles all the time to see what gets more attention, you know?
Exactly.
Like, all right, I don't want to do a review on this thing. 40 million reviews have already come out. All right, 2 videos, 1 list of hates, 1 list of loves. Done.
You know what I do?
What?
I get sidetracked when people talk about mini phones. That's what I do.
I think we all might be guilty of that.
I actually just read a hilarious headline. You've all heard about the interpreter from Nelson Mandela's memorial.
They just said he had schizophrenia. Come on.
Yeah, first he claimed that he had a schizophrenic episode. Then he claimed that he was actually signing, but he was using a different dialect in sign language. And then, now, interpreter at Mandela Memorial says he saw angels.
Headlines. All right.
This guy. Have you watched the video of it?
No.
It's hilarious.
If we were ahead of schedule like we usually are, we could talk about it, but we're not. Let's move on. Jaime makes a good point about the next one. We're not going to talk about the next story because it's no longer a story. That was the Nexus 8 discussion.
And Michael is just too stupid to know that.
Yeah, zing. You hurt my feelings just then. It's the
It was a
holiday
compelling
season.
headline. It caught your eye.
See, thank you. Galaxy S4 Active, one of my favorite phones from Samsung ever, for real, is joining the Snapdragon 800 Club. Isn't that right, Stephen?
Yeah, it's the latest Samsung phone to get the LTE Advance upgrade. So we're going to be seeing a new, or not we, but people in South Korea will be seeing a new version of the GS4 Active very soon.
That
Lovely.
Really, really awesome. I hope that upgrade comes to the States, even if it's not with a lot of bombast, if they just kind of replace the existing stock with it.
This is a good opportunity to mention. I was earlier this week, we saw that Sprint announced a new version of its own Galaxy S4 to take advantage of its own network upgrade for the Sprint Spark LTE project. It's not LTE advanced, and I was curious if this actually was going to be a new version with an 800, because that's been the modus operandi for Samsung here. It comes out with a new Galaxy model to work with better LTE, it gets the 800. I can confirm that's not happening. Sadly, the new Sprint GS4 will keep on running the old 600.
Well, that's okay, because as we said earlier in the show, the 600 is still pretty good.
Yeah.
We like the 6, but it would have been nice to see that. I understand your point.
I wonder, though.
You understand his point, but my point is...
Your points are substantially inferior on a usual basis, yeah.
I just want to see a GS4 Active with an AMOLED in it.
I was just going to say that. That is what I would love to see. The LCD does well, but an AMOLED in a GS4 Active would be great. However, they don't leave us totally out in the cold because they're also swapping out the camera module. Instead of last year's 8-megapixel unit, we're getting 13-megapixel sensor in the Galaxy S4 Active. And when I say we, Jaime, good point. We don't mean we mean the South Koreans. So congratulations.
Maybe us if we're good.
Maybe every time
if we behave. What, Jaime?
Every time I see that, I'm like, only for China, only for Taiwan, only for... I'm like, whatever.
You know, it's funny. Like I haven't heard that very often recently. Like, I think we've been spoiled for a long time, and now some phones are coming out for regions not including our own.
I was really upset today. There was a Sony contest where they had a really nice NFC commercial showing off all their NFC accessories, and they made a Christmas tree that's NFC controlled. And like, this is awesome. You can enter to win. It comes with a bunch of NFC tags, NFC Bluetooth speaker. It's only for the UK.
Oh.
So I feel that pain.
Well, you enjoy that, UK folks.
Seriously.
Sounds great.
And NFC Christmas tree, just what I wanted. That's just what I wanted.
You need it, really.
Speaking of the UK, we're going to do a little on-the-fly switcheroo in the rundown and just touch very briefly on HTC's Well, good news for HTC today. HTC has been in a legal battle, well, as many people are, with Nokia for a very long time. And this has resulted in some component changes within the HTC One between the early and late flights, which we talked about in listener mail last week. Yada, yada, yada. The point is, the case is continuing, and HTC has managed to find itself a bit of luck, as Stephen Shank says, and the court has issued a stay on the One Mini injunction, because what had happened was that there was an injunction issued, and One Minis could no longer be sold in the UK. So this is just a temporary thing. HTC is not totally off the hook, but for the moment, the sales of its hardware can continue. So if you have, all you want for Christmas or the holidays is an HTC One Mini, and you live in the UK, then you no longer have to worry.
Problem solved.
Yeah, good for you.
Sorry, I dozed off like 5 times again. What?
Well, that's good, Taylor. You woke up just in time to tell us all about how Google is or is not killing off the gallery. This is like huge news to me. I think this was the first thing I read when I woke up the other day. I don't know what to make of this. I just started using Google's new photo editor today. Taylor, maybe you're not the best person to tell us about this. Do you know anything about it, or should I ask Stephen, the news chief, to tell us?
Well, he can explain it. I can give my take, because
All
I
right.
think that's the best plan of action.
That's a wonderful compromise, and while you guys do it, I'm going to continue being ignorant about this piece of news as I grab a glass of water. I'll be right back. Stephen, begin.
Oh, I thought Taylor was going first. Okay.
No, you're
you guys
explaining
sort
what's
it out.
happening.
So we saw these the new the Google Play editions of the G Pad and the Tablet Z from Sony, and Tablet Z, Xperia Z, whatever it is. And when we actually got to see the software on these, it turned out that unlike the Nexus 5, which came with the old Gallery app that we're familiar with on stock Android to look at all your pictures, Nexus 5 came with both that and this new photo app, which is Google Plus baked in. Very similar but different in some notable ways. And unlike the Nexus 5, these two new models have just the photo app, no more old Gallery. So they forced your hand into, you don't have to use Google Plus to use the app, but it's a part of it. It's always there, and I think it's going to be the way that we see future Nexus devices coming out.
Yeah, I agree there, and there's been a lot of people who are upset over this, mainly because it does force you to use Google Plus, but I frankly love it.
It doesn't force you to. You can get away without it.
Oh, you can get away without it. Okay.
But Google has shamelessly looked for ways to make you use Google Plus so much that they can't figure it out anymore. Taylor, how can you live in Google Plus? Seriously.
I love it, and there are a lot of people who do. So people who say that Google Plus is barren wasteland of tumbleweeds and Android fans are kind of out of the loop. There are a lot of people who use it, and it's one of the largest social platforms.
Yeah, I have no vitriol for Google Plus itself. It's just the not having an option to ignore it while wanting to still be a committed Android user is becoming a larger and larger thing.
But it's kind of the whole experience. I mean, you don't have to use Google Plus. You have to sign up for it, but there are a lot of friends I have that are signed up for it and have never posted anything.
You don't have to sign up for it. I have a Google account that still does not have Google Plus activated on it.
Yeah, but it throws it in your face every time you turn around.
Yeah, I think it's something like when you activate a phone, it asks you like 6 times to
Don't remind me about that. I mean, my Pocketnow account is...
Yeah.
I never wanted to open that Google Plus, and it opened it. And now everybody's following me to that account, and I never use it.
Dude, I'm in the same boat. I thought I was the only one. Everyone follows me at the wrong account because I can't shut down the wrong account and use the right one. I hate... it's not just Google Plus. Google cannot manage multiple... it provides the worst experience to people who have multiple Google accounts. It's horrible.
Yes.
Yeah, but you can shut down the old account, because I had to. But that aside, the new photos out there, a lot of people who say they don't like it because the photo editing is worse, or
it's less functional.
It's less functional, but I think this is just a step along the way. They're taking a step back to kind of regroup, and they're probably, and I don't know for sure, but I think they're somehow going to integrate Snapseed with this, because that's what they did with Google Plus itself and with the old Gallery. So it's really a non-issue if you're complaining about what it can do from within the Photos app versus what it could do within Gallery, because I'm a person who probably takes as many pictures as anybody else. I mean, probably more.
Yeah.
And if I take a picture and I want
like
to
your
edit
pictures,
it,
Taylor. Your
Photo-
pictures are good.
Yeah.
Can I have to interject. I'm sorry. We have to let Jaime go right now so he can go get that phone. So sorry to disrupt your flow, boys. But Jaime, thank you for joining us. Go get that Nubia 5, brother.
Seriously. So yeah. Anyways, sorry I have to go. I sadly things here close at 5 p.m. I hate this country, and and they don't leave at 5 p.m. They always leave at 4:45.
Oh, lovely.
I'm seriously.
You may be the first person anywhere to rush off to get a ZTE phone, so congratulations on that.
Thank you. Well, the problem is if I leave it there overnight, it probably won't wake up there. So that's really the reason.
Well,
why I
you know,
need to
as
rush.
we've
25,
recently
20.
demonstrated, the 20. We're not immune to that problem here in the States, apparently. So go get it, Jaime. We will hear from you on that device soon, and enjoy it. It's that Houston Rockets branded one, so you have a sort of a really special device there. So have fun.
What are the Houston Rockets?
Apparently, they're some kind of bowling team.
You'll find out.
All right, guys, take care.
All right, we'll see you later, Jaime.
See ya.
Listeners, if you want to know where to reach Jaime, you should listen to the end of the show. Guys, can we wrap up talking about pictures real quick? Can you make your last point there, Taylor?
Yeah. All I was going to say is that if I need to edit a picture that I've taken 10 times out of 10, I'm either going to use Photoshop or Snapseed. I never use the built-in one because it's just less functional, period.
See, I like the built-in.
Yeah, I use it all the time, yeah.
Me too.
I never did.
Snapseed, though, is a great app, and it's not as good as Photor, which is like the best app ever, but you got to be on Windows Phone to use that, I think.
I don't like that one.
Oh, Photor is so great.
It's terrible.
No,
I
it's
did a video on Windows Phone editors, and it's awful.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
Now, Taylor, when you said use Photoshop, do you mean on your phone or on the PC?
Photoshop Touch, yes.
Okay, nice.
Rad. The last story in Android, sorry guys, we got to move on, was Spotify related, and I was going to have Jaime talk about it. Unfortunately, he is no longer around to talk about that or his iOS video, so sad face on that. So I'm actually just going to dump the iOS category completely. You should watch Jaime's video, iPad Air, What We Love and Hate, and users in the United States who use Spotify should, notice the fact that Spotify has rethought its business model and has confirmed that its new mobile experience is free. So you can listen to playlists, search for artists, and listen to all the music you'd like without having to pay for Spotify Premium. And the experience on a tablet is largely unencumbered, Stephen Schenk reports. But what's the catch, Stephen?
Well, the tablet, there's not so much of a catch. You can search for artists, you can find the songs, you can listen to what you want to, more or less. The catch is for the smartphone, where, you can search for songs, you can search for artists, and pull up the playlist that Spotify gives you, but you can't exactly choose where you want to listen to within that playlist. So the only way to play music is in a permanent state of shuffle. So the song you're looking for is in that playlist, but you're going to have to keep hitting skip to get to it. I think they do limit it to like 6 an hour or something like that. So
okay.
not ideal, but you get what you pay for.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great option where no option existed before, so that's awesome.
Well, did it, though? Because I was confused about this. I always had Spotify on my phone and would just listen to the pre-built radio stations for artists, and that was always free.
Oh, I actually didn't know that.
Yeah. At least this now you can, I guess, search for individual songs is the benefit.
Which is a huge benefit, and it's like the principal benefit of Spotify. So, well, if you live in a market where Spotify is supported, check that out. If you don't, sorry. That's unfortunate. So, shall we, gentlemen, move on to Windows? What do you think?
No.
It had its chance.
You guys. Oh, man. I would say I wish Jaime was still here, but he would just make it worse. All right. I'll be the lone contender for...
tell us about the 1520.
Yes. So, jumping into Windows. The Nokia Lumia 1520 review is up, and it was a bit late, but it's up now. The video's been up for weeks, but now it's linked and embedded, and everything looks good. If you like shaft jokes, you should read the review. But as we talked earlier in the show, as we discussed earlier in the show...
Richard Roundtree shaft, or...?
No, I think Samuel L. Jackson shaft, because, right? Yeah. It's like, okay, I can go watch that, but I wouldn't really want to. It wouldn't be my first choice. That's how I feel about the 1520 personally, just because, as we discussed earlier in the show, the size, when you build a device this big, you have to make it as comfortable as possible. And while the 1520 is not uncomfortable, it is kind of unapologetically massive. in the same way that the One Max is, but in a very different way than the One Max is, but they are equally uncomfortable in certain situations. Like, I've been using the 1520 to read in bed the past few nights, and it's just like, oh my god. Balancing it, unless you are exactly, like, properly vertical, is impossible. So if you're lying on your side trying to read in bed, it's like, this thing is just huge and big. Go ahead.
When you said vertical, I pictured you hanging from the wall in a sleeping bag, like astronaut sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's better for your back, really.
Right, yeah. If I'm dangling upside down with my wings folded over my chest, then it works nicely. But it's just a big, heavy device, which is wonderful. I think I summed it up on the bottom. I was like, the screen is beautiful. The experience when you're watching movies, when you're reading a book, when you're doing stuff that is taking up all of your attention is great. And I kind of called it a monster, but a friendly, lovable one. It's Windows Phone needed to get into the phablet game. Nokia needed to get into the phablet game. And they did it fairly well here. I like how the home screen uses the space efficiently up front. I can kind of glance and see everything I need to see. But unfortunately, there's no like advanced multitasking options unless you go for a third-party solution, which was linked to me by a generous commenter. And I was like, oh, let me go check this out. A third-party app lets multi-window happen on Windows phones. And I kind of looked at the screenshots and I was like, oh no. No, I can't brook this.
That home screen just makes my head hurt. It's just
too many tiles?
Too much going on, yeah.
I like it.
See, I like it too. It's so refreshing to me not to have to scroll down to see anymore. Like, it's all right there. I've said this before, but for the first time since 2010, Microsoft's like promise to deliver a glanceable UI has been fulfilled. It's like, it's all right here.
Yeah, well, glanceable or something you have to scan with your eyes.
I don't know, because you may have to because you haven't used it, but I've used it for about 2 weeks. And I don't mean you haven't used the phone, but you haven't used my configuration.
Right, you know where to look
exactly.
for certain things.
Right, my eyeball knows where to go when I want to know weather. I go right to the middle. You know, when I want news is right below that, calendar's right to the left. Like, I know where stuff is. I think this interface could be made better by the allowance to color code your own tiles. Because I don't know about you guys, but my brain instantly seeks out color first. And when I'm trying to find something in a hurry. And to be able to, like, make the phone tile green, for example, would be a big help to me.
That's interesting. I was just reading through some design documents for, I was doing an editorial on the notification bar that some of you may have seen in Android. And Google says specifically, don't use anything in your notifications that uses color to identify your app. We don't want you doing that.
Interesting. Well, I see why they would do that, because for a while Android was kind of like a no holds barred, like no rules cowboy landscape, and like there were all kinds of colors everywhere and none of it made any sense, so they really had to clamp down on that.
Yes.
I think they've gone a little far with the latest version of Android, though, because like the complete removal of all those blue highlights from the status bar has just made it look really boring to me. Like when my Moto X got the update, I'm like, oh, I miss the blue for data connected.
And that's another design decision they made. Any icons going up there have to be white for the transparent bar.
Yeah, like I don't, I'm not digging on that too much. But, well, let's just say that you can go read the 1520 review if you want to go read it. It's linked right there. It's awesome. I'd love it if you read it. I spent a long time on it, and there are great things about the device. I painted a really crappy picture of it just now, but it does a lot of things really well. Let's talk about these Windows Phone rumors. I'm going to change it up again because we started talking UI. Stephen, what is going on with this rumor? Is it at all feasible that any of this is true, or is
we have
this
a
total
couple
garbage?
Different rumors here in the rundown. Which are you talking about?
I'm talking about the UI one. This crazy rumor that in 2014 Windows Phone is somehow going to lose the Metro aesthetic.
Yeah.
Tell us what the hell this is, because I don't believe a word of it.
Yeah, so Eldar Murtazine, who some of you may be familiar with, has been a really prolific tipster guy. He has his sources, and he makes all these predictions, and he's kind of hit and miss. A while back, he was known for generally being on point, but
let me make the point here before I forget to that I don't mean to throw him under the bus as a tipster. I'm actually not really familiar with him, so I can't say one way or the other way. I just mean this rumor sounds so outlandish.
Right, we don't know. We don't think he's trying to mislead anyone here.
Right.
He heard this. He's passing it on, and so there's a couple components to it. basically he's talking about the next big iteration of Windows Phone 9 or whatever it's called, coming out sometime in the second half of next year, which is way sooner than we've been hearing about. We are still looking forward to 8.1 just launching in the spring sometime. And more than just coming out then, he says it's going to integrate RT, which we also thought was a lot farther out, and it could completely ditch the Metro UI. No more live tiles, and that's just it's crazy talk.
Microsoft just spent years putting tiles on everything.
I can see how this is going around now because there's been a lot of talk about on the desktop them going back to the start menu and returning to the traditional desktop look because users have really been rejecting the Metro look there. But I think it's working on the smartphone side. I can't see them switching course so drastically.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I think a Windows Phone is easily the most readily identifiable mobile device out there in terms of the platform. Like, when you look at a BlackBerry screen, it's kind of like, okay, well, there's big tiles. I kind of don't know what that is.
WebOS?
Well, no, I know. Well, yeah, exactly. But, like, you look at an iOS 7 device and you look at an Android device, and yes, we can all tell the differences, but I don't know that a lot of consumers would instantly be able to if you removed the benefit of hardware. If
you could pass one off as a heavily skinned version of the other or vice versa.
Exactly, right. Whereas Windows Phone looks like nothing else.
I actually have a theme on my Nexus 5 that I applied for a video I just posted, where my Nexus 5 actually looks just like iOS 7. So
yeah, but whereas Windows Phone looks nothing like that, and when you try to make Windows Phone look like another OS, like it fails miserably. Yeah.
Well, that's a double-edged sword, and I think we've talked about this before, where a lot of people have had terrible experiences on Windows 8. And that's kind of trickling down into the mobile systems where they're not really wanting to try Windows Phone because their home PC is something that just makes them angry when they turn it on.
Which is funny because we did talk about this like over a year ago on this podcast. I was the one saying like, hey, listen, guys, we got Windows 8 coming soon. If it's a hit, it is going to naturally inject some life into Windows Phone sales. Mm. And I'm not willing to say it's not a hit. In terms of sales numbers and stuff, I really don't know. But it certainly
adoption's way down.
What's that?
Historically, if you compare adoption based on when Windows 8 was released compared to when Windows 7 was released, and look at over time, Windows 7's been selling at like twice the rate as Windows 8.
Really? Yeah, I think there's definitely been some stigma attached to Windows 8 in a variety of areas, but I don't really want to get into that because I'm frankly not informed enough to do it. I know that I feel much less passionate about Windows 8 than I do Windows Phone 8, and I don't think that's really news to anybody out there. Do you guys feel the same, or no?
I can't. I have trouble getting excited over anything Windows Phone 8, and that's not because I dislike Windows Phone 8. It's just not exciting for me. It's just something. It's a valid option. It's decent at what it does, but for me, it just doesn't. It doesn't do anything for me
relative to Windows 8, though. I mean, like which one?
I haven't really spent a lot of time with Windows 8.
Yeah. See, I try to. I go back and Stephen, you answer the question, and I'll talk about that.
I have larger philosophical issues with Windows 8 than I do with Windows Phone 8. Mm-hmm. And specifically, if there's one thing I like about Windows Phone 8, it's that Metro look to it. That completely nailed it for me.
Me too. I agree. And every time I go back to try and use Windows 8 for a specific purpose or because there's been an update and I want to try it out, I'm like, it's almost as if for the way I use things, Windows 8 brings all of the things I don't like about Windows Phone 8 and makes them bigger and eliminates all the good things I like about Windows Phone 8. So I don't know. But in any case,
this probably isn't going to happen.
I think this particular rumor is total crap. Yeah. I don't see them ditching the tile-based UI, and I don't see RT. I'm on the fence about whether RT is going to disappear or is going to get rebranded as.
I believe it's something. Yeah, it's going to merge into something else. But I've got to trust. And Mary Jo Foley is, incredibly reliable, and she was talking about that transition coming after the rumored Threshold series of upgrades, which itself wouldn't be until sometime in 2015. So I really got to believe that she knows what she's talking about here, and this is very, very far off.
All right. I want to make the point that for some reason when we were talking Windows 8, I felt like I was betraying an inner part of myself. I was like, why am I trash-talking this? Why do I have this fond memory of using it? And now I remember the only truly fond memory I have of using Windows 8, it was actually Windows 8 Windows 8 RT, or Windows 8.1 RT, on the Lumia 2520 when we had it. Because it was a really fun experience. I used it on the entire train ride down to New York City, and I was like, this is really enjoyable. And obviously, I think a large part of that came down to the hardware. Because I liked using that device better than I liked using the Surface or the NVX2. The other two devices I run Windows 8 on. So, yeah. Anyway, let's move on. We will talk more about this rumor when it is debunked or when the world turns upside down and it comes true. Can you want to talk about Nokia's big PR win here, Stephen?
Yeah, Nokia's been nailing it with these PR events where it finds some other company that's kind of dropping the ball, making themselves look like a bit of a jerk, and Nokia's like, hey, check us, we're cool. They swung in when a couple months back there was an incident where Apple stole a video from the sky, and he was complaining about it, and Nokia had no interest in this initially. They were not involved, but they just kind of swooped in like, hey, you like videos? Check out this 1020. Here it is for free. And it got them a lot of, good karma there. And they did pretty much the same thing here, where a guy had an issue with Samsung. He was charging his phone. For one reason or another, the phone did not like being charged and caught a little bit on fire.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, and Samsung wanted him to sign all these agreements saying he wasn't going to talk anymore about the incident for them to replace the phone for him.
And they weren't even going to replace it. They were going to replace it with a comparable model.
Well, no, and they always say that. That just means it might be refurbished, right?
I know, but when you're doing that, though, when you're like, you're not just drafting a piece of boilerplate. You're actually like writing a new letter. Like you look at it, you don't say like a comparable device. You say we'll give you the same phone.
Samsung did not handle it as well as they could. But the issue isn't Samsung's failing so much as Nokia then reaching out to this guy, and they're hooking him up with, I don't know if it's going to be a 1020, but a new Lumia model. And if Nokia keeps this up, I think it could do a lot to restore the public image. They're not just another arm of the faceless, giant, evil Microsoft. Nokias are the fun guys. They help people out.
Yeah. I'd like to know if Casey Neistat is still using his Lumia 1020.
I would like that too. Yeah, I would really like to know that as well. Well, we'll see. What else is going on? This while we wrap up Nokia here, can we talk about that last rumor about their
the 5.2 inch?
Yeah, the supposedly 5.2 inch Lumia rumored to be in the works. What's the story here?
Well, this awesome Indian import-export database, which is rapidly becoming a source for our information on upcoming phones, reveals that Nokia, I don't even think it says Nokia, a company in Finland shipped a phone with a serial number that looks a lot like how Nokia does their serial numbers. Sent it to India. It's a 5.2-incher. We don't know much about it, resolution or anything. We can make some assumptions. The stated price makes it seem like it's going to be relatively high-end. I think it was in the $500 range.
$565, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so this could be something coming up early next year. New phablet for Nokia.
And a Snapdragon 800 and probably a 1080p display. And we've seen some renders. Yeah, we've seen some renders or photos actually of devices that are smaller than the 1520, but running the new Mega 3-row like start screen, right?
Oh yeah. Well, at first we thought that might be an option for like an upgrade for lower res displays, but I don't know what's going on there.
But so we're kind of half expecting that to be on the 929, right? The extra row of tiles.
I don't even know at this point. We've seen pictures of it.
We have, and it makes sense with a 1080p screen. Yeah, it's smaller on the 929, but anyway, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see that home screen configuration or start screen configuration on the 929 and on this new mystery device, this RM964.
Sooner or later, Nokia is going to have a device every single size possible.
I know. And speaking of size, though, I wonder, when I see 5.2, my mind immediately goes to the LG G2, and I wonder if this will be yet another Lumia with a... oh my god, my mind is blanking. Guys, what does the G2 have? It's SLCD3 or...
I have no idea.
LG G2 review. Oh, that would have been such a keen sentence, wouldn't it?
It has a display. It's probably color.
Yeah, OLED doesn't get a hit. SLCD doesn't get a hit. Well, tell me what the display is. Review. Oh, it's an IPS LCD. Yeah, so it would be interesting to see, because the 1520 has an LCD as well. So it'd be interesting to see another Lumia with an LCD.
What? The G2, the LG G2?
Yes, correct.
Has an IPS Plus, true HD IPS Plus.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. As we discussed last week, like stuff just falls out of our heads like immediately. So yeah, thanks for swooping back in for that. And,
I'm actually talking to Brandon right now. He's busting my balls over something.
What's he? What are you not doing enough work? What's going on?
Oh no, I didn't talk about something enough in the last video I made.
Oh, Roger.
You know what I'm talking about.
Oh God, really?
Yeah.
Oh no. Well, that's too bad. Okay, anyway, let's not get any further into the weeds on that. Let's continue to wrap up Windows. We're not too many pieces of worthwhile news left, but I love this headline, and I know we're out of sequence, so I will just kind of feed it to you guys. Will Microsoft pay for Samsung to pay attention to them? That's not how you phrased it, Stephen, but I think that's basically the core of it, right?
Yeah, people think that Microsoft is getting kind of desperate to help flesh out the Windows Phone selection in terms of other OEMs besides Nokia. And actually, this works into another item we had on the rundown here with licensing fees. But it seems like it's doing anything it can to keep these companies who might have been making Windows Phone handsets in the past, keep them on board once Nokia fully gets absorbed into, or its devices and services fully gets absorbed into Microsoft. So one of these rumors has been that Microsoft could end up, I don't know, directly paying or just.
We're talking like
I have a bit of a brain fart there.
Specifically, we're talking about rumors suggesting Microsoft could be trying to lure Samsung with $1 billion.
Yeah.
In support.
It could be advertising, compensation in some other way, but spending $1 billion in one way or another to keep Samsung making Windows Phone handsets.
Now, to cover ourselves completely, this is from the St. Tipster. So, who knows? But I find the question interesting to ask because we're all sitting here wondering what is. I would love to be in these meeting rooms when Microsoft is having conversations with these makers, and especially Samsung, who created the Ativ S, which we found to be a great Windows phone. Then the Ativ S Neo, which kind of is the same thing, just again, and is not very good on Sprint at least, and like nothing else really except the Ativ Odyssey, and wow.
Yeah, we just assumed that they were going to slowly, fade away as far as Windows Phone goes.
And I think it seems to me that that's what Samsung would have done if it weren't for Microsoft having to come over. But can you imagine their position? Like Microsoft's coming over like, hey, listen, we know that we just bought Nokia, but we'd like you to ignore the fact that we're going to be kicking out a lot of hardware to compete directly with you.
I've heard arguments that Samsung likes to diversify itself, and so maybe in that sense it would make sense for the company to keep on doing Windows Phone. At the same time, Samsung is a control freak. I mean, the whole reason they got into the whole Tizen thing was to have more control over the platform. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the exact opposite case if it goes with Windows. I mean, unless Microsoft ends up giving it some, special Nokia level of influence.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. Like, if we can just put our speculation hats on for a second, wouldn't that be amazing? Because we know Samsung can do some cool things with Windows Phone. They were never given permission to do the amazing, innovative stuff that Nokia has been able to do, but Samsung's folders, I know it's a simple, stupid thing to talk about, but Samsung lets you group apps into folders in Windows Phone. That is something no other hardware manufacturer has ever done, to my knowledge, unless Huawei did something.
I personally feel if Samsung is given that freedom, it's going to hurt, I guess, probably the platform overall, at least in terms of how its reputation for fluidity. Because Samsung is, we all know how great Samsung is at just bogging everything down with hundreds of features that nobody's ever going to use.
Absolutely.
And that's a real point to be made on Windows Phone if they are able to take liberties with it. Because, I mean, what would stop them then from, plastering their crap all over everything?
Well, Microsoft, but it depends how bad they want Samsung to stick around.
Right. That's what I'm saying. If they're given the free reign to do, what they do, then it could be a bad thing for Windows Phone.
I just wonder if there are smartphone shoppers out there who get it into their head, I want a Samsung phone. They may not know about Android or care about it that much, or Windows Phone for that matter. They just go into the store, they say, I want a Samsung smartphone, and most of the time there's not going to be that Windows Phone option available for them. Maybe that's what Microsoft is counting, like it's playing off Samsung's massive popularity.
That could well be. I think that particular breed of shopper is probably pretty rare. Although Samsung's
and
brand is certainly pretty big.
They don't say, I want a Samsung phone. They say, I want a Samsung.
Or more specifically, like, I want a Galaxy.
Yes.
Often, and that carries with it the Android thing. But I don't know. I would be interested in hearing how many times in history a retail mobile phone clerk has heard, I want one of those Atives. You got one of
never.
those? Yeah, probably never.
Atives?
The Ative. Oh, God. But can we focus on one small point that should be made here?
Yeah.
Everyone says that Windows Phone is kind of struggling and everything, and that Microsoft is in some desperate state to make it stick. If Microsoft is willing to pay another company, not just for the first time, another company $1 billion, that should tell you that Microsoft is really not in any sort of trouble here, and that they have plenty of money to keep fueling Windows Phone for as long as it wants.
Yeah, it's in this for the long haul.
Yeah, Microsoft is making money from Android manufacturers for still making Android, so it's not like it has really anything to worry about. As long as Android's popular, Windows Phone is going to be around.
Sure. I just really hope that we see an update soon, because when was Windows Phone 8 launched?
Like
it was this time last year, wasn't it?
Yes. The Samsung, the Ative was the first one, wasn't it?
The it was the first one announced.
Never going to pronounce it correctly. Right.
Didn't they say creative, like Ative? Isn't that what they were talking about?
Yes,
like at that press conference?
Yeah, but that's not how you...
Yeah. Don't tell me how to think.
Like, why did they do that? I never understood that. They're like creative, and
I like it. I like it. What it is. So initial release was October 29, 2012. That's 13 months ago, and That's why I'm sitting here feeling like we saw a minor update, but
it brought pretty much nothing.
Force closes and the multitasking ribbon and a couple other things, and like rotation lock, like accessories, but. And I'm sure people will make the argument that the OS doesn't need a refresh, but it really does in some areas. I feel like when I use Windows Phone now, and I do because I still dual wield the Moto X and the 1020, I find myself sometimes inside Windows Phone, I find myself feeling like I'm using abandonware, particularly in the People and the Me Hub. And if you've read my stuff in the past month, you're tired of hearing this, and I'm sorry to repeat myself, but
I'm tired of your face.
Like those things came out in 2010 and they were revolutionary. It's like Microsoft's like, you don't have to use a separate app. We just built an operating system that plugs right into your Twitter and your Facebook and takes care of that for you. And it was great. And then Twitter and Facebook evolved, and Windows Phone really didn't. So the functionality of the People and Me Hub for me is basically crippled. Yeah, I can post a status update from it. Yeah, I can vaguely see what other people are doing, sort of. But so much functionality has been broken or just was never present as these social networks developed and as Windows Phone failed to keep up with it, that I just don't use them anymore. I use the siloed apps, and as a result, using Windows Phone is far less distinctive for me. And if I were selling it, I would have one less reason to tell people to buy it. So
I never would have used those features to begin with, ever.
Well, you didn't really come from WebOS. I mean, that was kind of a thing.
Oh,
it was like,
I kind of did.
Like if Microsoft wanted to make...
You didn't mean it.
And I used WebOS for a long time.
You ain't nothing. You ain't
you
nothing.
have your heart in it.
What are you talking about? Yeah, I don't hear it in your voice.
Hey, I bought WebOS on day one. I bought the original pre.
So did I. I was in line.
Bought the pre plus, the pre 2, the
I love that we're having a de-measuring contest about how we're bigger pathetic fanboys. Go ahead.
I'm not a
Steven.
fanboy, but
I am.
I do know my synergy.
I can be a fanboy. I can be a fanboy about a dead platform if I want to be.
Microsoft really wanted to make Windows Phone 8 seem fresh in light of these, building up problems or just not addressing things. They really could have, I think, managed to do that if the rumored GDR3 3-column 720p support happened. It just would have looked different enough to get users thinking, oh, Microsoft's keeping up with this. They're keeping things fresh, even though it's a very shallow change.
Right.
But sadly, that did not happen.
Oh, Jaime, did you get distracted by that? Jaime just came back into the chat. Like I just wait. Let's see if we can bring him back in here. So he's got it.
He must be back by now.
Jaime is back from the shipping office, having gotten the phone. Very quickly, Taylor. What?
Brandon said, "Oh my God, Tell everyone I said hi. So there's Brandon's message.
Thanks
to everyone.
for that. Thanks for that. All right, the Windows Phone listeners will be pretty irritated by giving up some of their time to hear Jaime talk about a phone they don't care about.
Both of them going to complain?
The three of them?
Oh, you guys made the same joke, and it wasn't any fun.
Low-flying,
It wasn't funny.
yeah.
I'm going to the
I'm just
Microsoft
kidding,
store
'cause
tonight
now
to
we're
buy a
gonna
Lumia 520, by the way.
We're gonna get probably like 800 comments now from the very, very vocal Windows Phone fans.
You know, it's funny. They've been less. I've been somewhat critical of Windows Phone's development, as I just was for 5 minutes in some of my written pieces, and they've like calmed down recently. Like I feel like there can only be one really inflammatory fan group at a time, and right now it's like that's trading between LG and Sony for me.
Yeah, Sony people, those fans hate me, but I want to say that whole community is very much more tame towards you. When I write about Windows Phone or make a video about Windows Phone, people are like, "Who is this fanboy?" Okay, so the Instagram video that I made about Instagram beta for Windows Phone, I said nothing negative about the platform, nothing at all. I really didn't talk about Windows Phone. I just said that having an official app was good for the platform. And like 30 comments were like, "Who is this fanboy? Where's Michael Fisher? Why'd this guy get this video?"
Oh God, yeah.
You know what the real problem is? The reason why we're seeing this decline in the amount of fanboyism going on Windows Phone is because Steve Ballmer has been operating about 1 million sock puppet accounts, and as he gets ready to step down from CEO, he's a lot busier now. He can't put his attention to this.
Right. So let's wrap it up on Windows Phone.
What happened to Jaime?
Jaime couldn't join us. He must have sent us a text Skype from his phone. A text Skype. I sound like my roommate the other day. I'm like working, and my roommate's like, "Hey, can you G-chat from an iPad?" And I'm like, "Yes." You know that nobody calls a G-pad anymore. Or G-chat. Right?
Call it
I know
G-chat.
you still call it. Actually, so did I until recently. But then everyone on Twitter made fun of me, so I stopped.
I make fun of you still.
Taylor,
guess what?
We created a horrible monster with Taylor. Like Taylor used to be this nice, mild-mannered dude, and now he's just a giant bully.
I never was a nice
guy
guy.
To cause trouble. Could Microsoft eliminate licensing fees? Stephen Shank, not Taylor Martin, who doesn't know anything.
It's the same thing.
I was going to say they have to.
All right. So what's the story? Tell us why we're speculating about this quickly.
Rumor got out that Microsoft might stop charging manufacturers to use both Windows Phone and Windows RT, but not full-blown Windows 8 on tablets in the products they release.
Because currently it charges a per-unit fee for the license on each device.
Just like when you buy a PC and it has Windows 8 loaded on it.
Roger.
And this sort of came up earlier when we were talking about, I think a couple months ago, the idea that Microsoft, again, someone puts out this notion that it's desperate to get more companies involved, and that it would offer Windows Phone free if they make dual boot devices. It's back now. We've kind of forgotten about the dual boot idea, but maybe instead of giving Samsung $1 billion, they could entice it by just saying you can make Windows phones. It won't cost you nothing. You can get more profit on each phone. Are you interested?
How accurate do we think this rumor is? What was I going to say?
Came from here.
It's the source is The Verge, so it's probably pretty solid.
They know their stuff.
What's the V word I was looking for? Veracity. What is the veracity of this rumor? That's what I meant to ask.
I couldn't think of venomous a minute ago. We're not having much luck with that.
Yeah, no, we're having some horrible brain problems here.
Yeah.
So yeah, Microsoft currently licenses.
Yeah, Tom Warren. Tom Warren is always crazy plugged into Windows Phone.
Absolutely.
I would trust this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that they need to. And this goes back to the whole acquiring Nokia part. It's kind of the same thing that we talked about when Google bought Motorola. It's going to upset the partners. Are they still going to want to make Android devices? Obviously they were, because Android is very successful. But Windows Phone is still kind of blossoming.
Yeah.
And this is stepping on toes. It's not just, the creator of an open source platform is buying a hardware partner so they can build hardware. They're keeping it a separate company. They made that clear. But Microsoft did not make that clear, and this is not an open source operating system. It is a licensed, paid, premium operating system, and that's a whole different ballgame. So I think for them for this whole situation to be a little more smooth and less rocky and abrasive, I think they need to drop the licensing fees.
I think Microsoft doesn't need Windows Phone money. It needs a greater Windows Phone share. And it might do whatever it can take to do that.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I'm going to contribute a little bit to Windows Phone's bottom line, as I just got the confirmation that I am going to go buy a 520. So I got to go to the Microsoft store and do that. And as a result, we got to wrap up a bit of this podcast. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of dialogue in the comments on this one.
Yep. I got to go to FedEx and send the Moto G back.
Vitriol. That's another V word.
That's a good one. Yeah. I would always get vapid and vacuous mixed up back in the day, but I solved that problem for myself.
I want to sleep at night.
Yeah, I know. I can rest a little easier. I'm going to bathe.
I always get cool and coolio mixed up, but that's just because my vernacular is not that great.
Very big problem. Well, I still get Ice Cube and Ice Tea mixed up, but that's my problem. So neither one of I would prefer not to watch either one of them on screen, really. But I
get 50 Cent the rapper and the Change mixed up as well.
Did you have a problem with that? Yeah. It's tricky. Life is very difficult to lead.
Somebody says, "Can I have 50 Cent?" And I, whip out my 50 Cent album and toss it out. And they're like, "What? I don't need this."
I'm carrying the HTC One just so we can listen to this on Boom Sound.
Pocketnow G unit. I think they're saying "gun it," and I just drive faster.
All right. Well, I think that's just lovely. Everyone, please forgive us for skipping listener mail this week. Please continue to tune in for all of our content. And please, if you enjoy the podcast, please vote for us using the Stitcher link.
Vote for us even if you don't enjoy it that much.
If you don't enjoy the podcast,
hard.
We'll never make you listen to it again if you vote for us every day.
Vote for it if you like me making fun of Michael.
Don't do it. Don't do that. Actually, I would rather end this podcast. I would rather end it right now, this particular episode.
Right over a cliff.
We've never missed a week. I like that. Let's talk about getting out of here. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I think, gents, that's going to do it for this episode of The Weekly. Be sure to find us on Twitter. I promised to tell you where Jaime can be reached, and he's at Jaime_Rivera on Twitter. Taylor is at CasperTech, CasperTek, if you want to talk to him for whatever reason. And Stephen never goes on Twitter, but he's at Stephen Schenk, StephenSchencK, or about 50 million Google Plus accounts, apparently. You can also follow Pocketnow officially at Pocketnow on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Google+. It's all Pocketnow. And you can share opinions with other listeners online at forums.pocketnow.com. Please leave us a review on iTunes or Xbox Music when you're done voting for us in the Stitcher competition. And if you have a topic, question, or suggestion for the show, or you just want to say hello, please email us at podcast@pocketnow.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
Woo! 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 Well, I want to set it straight.
Let's not talk about the score, but go ahead. Say your piece, and then let's move on.
Yeah,
I really don't want to spend any time on scoring bullshit. No one.
Yeah.
I gotta. Damn it. All right.
Naughty.
Yeah, I know. Go ahead, Taylor.
Yeah.